Let's make our dragon eyes go from this to this. Moving on, we're going to carefully take our dragon eye out of our bag. So open up the bag and carefully slide it out. You might want to take the paper out by itself, and then you do have an extra piece of clay under the paper, okay? Now, it's okay if your eye is stuck to the paper, just very carefully peel it. And if it was stuck for a long time, it might even have a spot on the paper, but that's okay. This paper is just to hold it in place. And then some of mine actually bled through to the new piece, but it's okay because they're both cool colors. Now, with your dragon eye, while it's still kind of soft, because it should be soft in that bag, we're gonna be using the same colors as the eye, as the fleshy part, not the middle of the eye, but this part. So this is blue, the back of it was green. So I'm still using those cool colors. And let's first, if you want, you can make some little scales or some little textures in the eye. So I like to take a marker, any color that I want, and I like to actually press into the clay. And it does two things. It creates color, because I'm using, my markers definitely look a lot darker when I am using them on my clay, because when we used it to mix the colors, they're very light because the clay is white, and the blue made a very light blue together. So we did a little bit of tints and values there. But the second thing it does is it makes a texture. So it will dry a little bit, and then as it dries, you're gonna see like a dent or these little like bumpy textures like a reptile really has on their skin. I like to do this in the corner of the eye, and then very carefully, so I don't get it on the glass part, I like to go in and make a few little ones close to the eyelid, close to the eye. Now you can put these bumps touching each other, you can put some of them spread apart, whatever you'd like to make it interesting. Then I'm going to go back with a different cool color and make some different ones. It can be random, or you can put these in a very special exact pattern if you want, okay? But remember, animals and other things in nature, patterns are usually irregular. They're not exactly perfect, so that means that if you want to do them randomly, it'll look more realistic, okay? Make sure that you press down into that clay, and it might spring back a little bit, but it should leave a little divot. I'm going over these again because it sprung back way too much, and I want to have little dents in it. Just be careful to stay off the glass. Then you can actually use other pieces of your marker to create texture. You can use the side of your marker cap to make some little smiley face looking scales, and they kind of look like fish scales. You can do these horizontal or vertical. You can do a little bit of both to create any kind of cool little textures you want on your dragon's eye. Once the markers are dry, you can even go over the little dots if you want. Those are just some examples of ways to make texture. Now, that looks really great. Now I'm going to show you how to even elevate it and make it even more fun. You're going to use your extra piece of clay, and I'm going to show you how to make some scales that are 3D. So I just tear off a little piece at a time. This clay goes a long way, so if you think that one little piece is not going to be enough, then just use a little piece at a time, and then you might even have extra at the end. So I want to make little scales that are 3D. So I'm going to color these first because I don't want them to be white. Okay, so remember to color them. You're just going to, I'm going to use some purples now because I don't have any purple or violets on my dragon, and it's the same color family. It's from the same basket, so I can use anything in there. That's why I'm using purple. Okay, I'm going to speed this up because you should remember how to mix your clay together after you color the flat surface of the marker to get the color that you want. Got this really cool violet color. I just love it. It's going to look great with my blues and greens on my eye. Now, once you made the color that you like, tear off an even smaller piece to make little circles like this, to make little scales. So I like to pinch off a little piece. It's about the size of a fingernail or even smaller. And then I like to press it down, and it's going to turn out to be like an oval or a circle. Doesn't matter because they're irregular shapes and they're not perfect, just like an animal in nature. And then once you stick it, it's probably gonna stay there. So make sure you pick a place that you really want it to go, okay? I'm gonna cover up just a few of my little scales, and then I might do some more on this side. So you might wanna do the opposite. You might wanna put it on a side that's bare or negative space or empty space. And it's okay if they're different sizes, okay? Now, if you run out, just tear off another piece and color it. It doesn't matter if the color is the same or different, because every time you use these markers, your colors are going to be a little bit different, even if you use the same colors, because it's just the way you mix, okay? So I'm making some 3D scales. You can make them overlap each other, or they can be side by side. Looks like I have one more. So if I want more scales, I'm going to have to make some more by tearing off a little piece and just finishing that up, okay? So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna show you how to do one more thing to make your dragon's eye very, very interesting. All right, I went ahead and made a few more scales by ripping off a little tiny piece of Model Magic, and it came out, the color came out a little different because I wanted it to. I loved the way this looked when I didn't quite mix it all the way, so I still see some streaks of purple in there, and it kind of looks like tie-dye. And then I'm adding a few more pieces of color by adding some irregular patterns. I'm pressing down into the clay to make some more scales, okay? Now I'm gonna show you how to create some designs around the whole eye, and then close around the eyelid, and then around the center of the eye. Remember, I'm still using the cool colors, so I'm gonna use the rest of my clay. I'm just gonna rip it into two, and I'm gonna make one like maybe some blues and greens, and the other one just blue or just green or just violet. I want to make these two different colors. You can, if you want, you can make it a single color if you want, but if you do two colors, I'm going to show you how to do this twisty braid using two different colors. You see how I have red and orange twisted together, then I have just red. So I'm going to just experiment with that and make these a different color. If you want to split these up into 3 equal pieces and make 3 different colors, that's just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and work on my 2 colors of my eye, my remaining 2 pieces, so I can have them ready for the next part. Remember, if you ever get to a point where we have to clean up and you are not finished, you're going to place your eye on that first piece of paper we got, slide it inside the bag with your name on it, and then if you have extra pieces of clay, whether they're white or colored, make sure you stick them behind and make sure they don't stick together. So you might want to put one, you can actually, if it's colored and it's little, you can stick it to the paper. Just make sure it doesn't touch your eye. And then if you have a big piece, I would put it behind the paper. And then flatten it so that most of the air comes out, zip it closed, and then place it in the spot where Miss Dalmy wants you to, so that she can put it in a place where your colors won't mix together and your clay will stay a little moist. All right, so I've got the 2 colors that I needed, and by the way, make sure you're doing all of your color mixing on a piece of white paper so you don't get your clay smeared on the table with marker, or you don't get anything from the table onto your clay. So we're keeping both things very clean. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just pinch a piece off of one of my colors, and I'm going to make a coil, which is a long snake shape or kind of like a rope shape. So first we roll it into a smooth sphere or a baseball shape, and then we just roll with our fingers back and forth, up and down. You might want to keep this on the table instead of doing it in your hands, because it's going to get kind of long, and if you do it in your hands, it's going to just fall like that, and it might stretch out too much or break. So just roll it out pretty long, and then you can always trim it if it's too long. Make sure you're rolling all sides, the left side, the middle, the right side, and going back left side, middle, right side, so that it's even. I do have a little skinny piece at the end here, but it's not completely way skinnier. It's fine. And we might not even use the edges. We might be using like curling those or folding them over anyway. But make sure most of it's pretty the same thickness. You don't want a really skinny piece and then a really thick piece, okay? And then I can I'm gonna show you this before I attach it. I'm gonna, you can put it over your eyes like that, and then the small pieces you can put here. I would roll this one out to be the same thing, and I can braid them together, or I can put them solid, okay? I'm gonna just do this one regular, and then my next video, I'm gonna show you how I did this braiding trick. So I like to start on the edge first so I can use my big piece first. And let's just see. This may fit all the way around, and I kind of rolled it on the front here. I don't want to put it really on the side. I want everyone to see it from when they're looking down at the eye like this. So make sure you keep it kind of on the front, and you're going to lay it on top of even those little scales you made. Okay, now I have a little bit of extra on this side. I don't have any extra on this side. So I'm going to just curl this into like a spiral, okay? So just be very careful. It's really long, so I might even flip it over and just place it like that to cover up this one. So if you wanted to have two spirals like this, make sure that you have some extra before you lay it down. I did not, because I wanted to do something a little different. Okay, and that looks really cool. I could go and do another one because I have more clay, or I can just work on the inside. So now I think I'm gonna do the braiding trick on the inside. So let me get two pieces. I could have done the braiding around the whole thing, which I'll show you next, or I can just do it on one part, okay? And you can play with your eyelids a little bit. You can stretch them a little bit if they're kind of closing up. Okay, let's do the same thing. Let's roll it into a sphere or a baseball shape, and then roll it up and down, or side to side. Whoops, oh man, be careful so that your clay doesn't stick together. It sticks together really quick when you're not even watching. So please make sure you spread everything out before you start making your coil. This is called a coil. Okay, and then just measure it every once in a while. If you think it'll fit around, you can stop. Or if you think it needs to be longer, you can make another one, or you can make the one you have longer. So I'm gonna place that way out of the way, and then I'm gonna work on this one. Make sure you roll the middle, the side, both sides, right side, left side, both sides. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do a little braiding trick or twisting trick when both of my coils are about the same size. This one needs to be a little bit longer to match the purple one. Getting it away so it doesn't stick until I'm ready. Now, I'm going to just lay the ones on top of each other, and I'm just going to take turns. I'm using the purple one and I'm folding it over. And then I'm using the green one and I'm folding it over. And then I can adjust and move them to where they need to go. If something accidentally gets twisted before you were ready, you're just gonna work with it and it'll be a beautiful oops. And I'll kind of show you a little trick that I found when my coils twist together in the wrong way when I'm not ready for them. Okay. Just keep going. Just go very slowly, then move them around. You might even need to hold some of them in place. Okay, now, if they get stuck and you're not ready like that, all you're gonna do is just kind of, you roll them together the way we rolled them up and down earlier, okay? And it might not look perfect, but it'll be all right. And then you can even keep rolling to make it more even. Just make sure it doesn't stick to the eye until you're ready, okay? So then after I'm done, I do like to roll it just to give it an extra really cool braided look, okay? Now, I'm gonna put these around my eye, and I think around the inside of my eye, because I already have some on the outside. I'm gonna make my little spiral first, because I don't wanna forget that part. Okay. And then I'm just gonna lay it around, and when I have extra, I'm just gonna pinch it away, okay? okay? I wanna make another spiral. So I'm gonna pinch that off and then make a little spiral above. You can do it going the same way or opposite. And there, look how much cooler it looks. Okay, I love it. And here's my other one, and I'm gonna show you how I did that other one. And if you have extra clay, you can make more little scales if you want. You can go back into your scales and press them to make another little scale, make more texture. You can make one scale like really textured like that if you want, okay? You can go around and add texture to the coils that you put around the edges, whatever you want to make yours interesting. If you have extra clay, you're done with it, but you could make something cool on the other with the other pieces of clay. Have fun making these dragon eyes really extra creative today. When you're done with your dragon eye, let's make a cool way to display them. You're gonna get a new piece of white paper, the thick paper that your eye is gonna rest on. It's a little bit bigger than your old one. And we're going to do a little bit of folding, okay? So write your name on one side and then you can just start folding. I like to turn my paper vertical and then fold a little skinny rectangle, flip it, fold it, flip it, fold it. And when you flip it and fold it, it's making like a zigzag line, or we call this an accordion fold, okay? So after you fold it, you have this little piece that's sticking up. Make sure you flip it so that you can't see the zigzag line. And then from the bottom, you're grabbing all of those papers at the same time and folding it up. Flip it, grab them all, fold it up. Flip it, grab it all, fold it up until you have no more pieces left. And then your name is on one side. You can stretch it out a little bit. And then you're gonna rest your eye on the opposite side. This will give it a little bit of dimension. So we have like this cool 3D eye, and we also have a 3D piece of paper now.